So this is lesson 6-5, and this is part 2. This is the second part of the video. So example 3 is equivalent algebraic expressions. This time we are comparing expressions that have fractions, rational numbers. So we've got 2/3 q plus 3/8 minus 5/6 q plus 1/4, and we're going to compare that to a negative 1/9 times the quantity, negative 9, plus 3q minus the quantity, 3/8 minus 1/6 q. Okay, so you can see that neither of these are simplified, right? Because you see there are some like terms out there, and you also see that there are some parentheses. So we know we need to simplify, okay? So if we're looking at the first one, there's no parentheses. Now this one, we just need to put our like terms together. So the like terms are what? 2/3 q and negative 5/6 q. Very good. And then we've got a positive 3/8 and a positive 1/4. Okay? Now, when we're combining those like terms with fractions, what do I need to make sure I have? I need to have a common denominator. Okay? So, what is the common denominator with 3 and 6? 6. So we're going to multiply times 2 here and times 2 there. So I'm going to go ahead and write the q terms together. So this is going to be 4/6 q minus 5/6 q. And now we have to deal with our constants. So we've got a 3/8 and a 1/4. What's the common denominator with 4 and 8?
8.
That's going to be 8. So here we're going to multiply times 2 times 2. So here we've got, let's start with a 3/8. So that's plus 3/8. And then plus, that's going to be 2/8. And now we can combine our like terms. So here we've got the q terms over here, and we've got the constants over here. That's what we're combining. So 4/6q minus 5/6q is what? Negative 1/6q. Very good. And then we've got a positive 3/8 plus 2/8 is positive 5/8. Very good. So now that one is simplified. Every good? So now we're going to do the other side. Okay? How do I start simplifying this one? What was that property I need to use? The distributive property. Very good. So we're going to take this negative 1/9 and we're going to distribute that throughout the parentheses. What am I distributing in the second term? Right. That's going to be a negative 1. Now remember, you can use the distributive property, or you can think of it as a keep, change, change. Where if you're multiplying times a negative 1, everything inside the parentheses just becomes the opposite, right? All right. So now let's multiply. So we've got negative 1/9 times a negative 9. Now, if you can't see it, you can write your scratch paperwork on the side. So there's 1/9 times 9 over 1. Of course, what's that going to give me?
A positive.
Like I said, if you can't see it, you can...
Negative 3/8.
Hold on. I'm doing 1/9 times 9 over 1. You guys, that's 9 over 9, which is what? 1. Come on, you guys. Here, negative times a negative is a positive. So this is going to be a positive 1. Okay? Now, we have a 1/9 times 3. So I'm going to write down the scratch paperwork. So we've got 1/9 times 3. And I'm going to put that over 1, 3 over 1. Does everybody see I can simplify before I multiply my scratch paper? So 3 divided by 3 is 1. And 9 divided by 3 is 3. When we multiply straight across, what do we get? 1 over 3. Very good. So over here, a negative times a positive is a negative. So that's going to give me negative 1/3 cubed. Is everybody clear? All right. So now we're going to distribute this negative 1 throughout the parentheses. So again, when you multiply times negative 1, everything inside the parentheses becomes the opposite. So this positive 3/8 is going to become a negative 3/8. Very good. And this negative 1/6 cubed is going to become positive 1/6 cubed. Very good. So now we can combine our like terms. So we've got a Q over here. We've got a Q over there, and we've got a Q over here. And we've got, you guys are identifying your like terms by using your shapes, right? Good. So now, before I do those combining, I need to get some common denominators, right? So with the Q terms, that's a 3 and a 6 in the denominator. What's the least common denominator? 6. So we're going to multiply over here times 2 and here times 2. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and write my like terms together. Okay? So I've got, this one is going to be a negative 2/6 Q. And then over here, this is going to be plus 1/6 Q. Now, 1 and 8. 1 and 3/8. What's the denominator of 1? Yeah, you're just going to put it over 1, right? So that's going to be 8/8. Is everybody clear with that? So we'll rewrite those. So we've got positive 8/8 minus 3/8. And now we can combine our like terms. So we've got Q terms here, and we've got constants there. So we're going to put our like terms together. So we've got negative 2/6Q plus 1/6Q is equal to negative 1/6Q. And then over here we have a positive 8/8 minus a 3/8. That's going to be a positive 5/8. So now we can compare, right? Equivalent or not? Yes, these are equivalent. Yes, equivalent. All right. This one I want you guys to do with your table partners, and then we will go over that one. Okay? 2 minutes. All right, for example B, the first one is already simplified. Okay? So all we have to do is simplify the second one. So we're going to use our distributive property. We end up with negative 1/6D plus 4 minus 2/3 D. Now, when I use my distributive property, does everybody see I have my scratch paper work here on the side? And that's how I can clean it up here. You should always simplify when you multiply here, okay? And then we can combine our like terms. Now, when we combine 1/6 and 2/3, we need to get common denominators. The common denominator with 6 and 3 is 6. So we're going to multiply times 2 in the numerator and the denominator, and that gives us 4/6. So now we can combine our like terms. So negative 1/6D plus a negative 4/6D is a negative 5/6D. And then we're going to add 4. So once we simplify it, then we can compare, and you can see these are equivalent.